Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. In today's video, I'm going to be speaking to a counsellor. I'm doing a series on different professions in the UK. The whole purpose for this series is to find out the different jobs that are available, whether they pay really well, whether they're enjoyable, and we're going to find out whether they're stressful or not. And we'll also find out whether, what skills and what qualifications do you need to get into those fields. So I'm going to kick off this series speaking to a lady called Marian. She has 14 years experience as a counsellor. She has 6 years experience as a coach. Marian has volunteered working with women in different charities because she's just passionate about helping people and seeing people change their lives. In her spare time, she enjoys traveling. She enjoys, sharing information, helpful information really, on YouTube. And I follow her YouTube channel and I enjoy it so much. I also follow her on Facebook, so I have been following her for a while. And I'm really, really pleased that she's agreed to come here and speak to me about what she does. Hopefully I'll be able to do more videos with her. So without wasting time, let's kick off this series with Marianne. Right, so I've got Marian with me. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just going to dive right into it. I'm really, really interested in finding out about what you do. Could you tell us what your day-to-day job is like as a counsellor?
Yeah, so I work as a counsellor. I've been doing that for the last 14 years. Day to day, every day is different, but basically it's around partly marketing. So marketing my services either on social media or advertising in the counselling directory, preparing for clients, planning for client work. I've already had 2 sessions this morning.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's training, sometimes it's just checking emails, but mostly obviously it's the day-to-day actually doing the client work. So that will be setting up appointments with clients and actually doing those sessions. So yeah, it's quite varied. Also, there's other days where you have to do your accounts. Obviously it's coming up to that financial year. Business planning as well comes into it. So there's a lot into it because you're thinking about it as you're running a business. But you're also running a service-based business, so it's not just packing up products, it's working on your actual gaining clients, but it's also around all the business stuff that comes with that, financial marketing and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, It's quite busy.
Yeah, it does sound busy. I see your work. I think I follow your advice as well. It's really, really good. It sounds like you're well, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you self-employed? Do you run your own business or do you work for a company? And if you are,
it's combined.
You're doing combined.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've set up my counselling business. I've been running that since 2016 on and off, but with counselling, but with any business, I suppose, unless you get the amount of clients and you have the amount of time to put into it where you are earning enough a figure that you can have money to live off, but also money to put back into the business. It's always good to have maybe a secondary income. So my part-time role where I'm working on the support helplines, that is my regular consistent income that I've had for 2 years. Outside of that, every day or every spare hour that I have is going into my counselling business. So yeah, I'm self-employed in that way. So you still have to do like your taxes and things like that. You still have to work hard on your business, but I'm hoping in the new year to become fully self-employed again. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so I guess my next question is, what do you love about your job? Apart from the accounting, the marketing, when you're actually doing counselling, what do you love about it?
I think I love the idea that you can meet lots of different people, especially now that you can work remotely. I've worked with people from all over the world. So anything, I've worked with people from people that are even on doing teacher training in Taiwan. I've worked with people in Sri Lanka, in Jamaica, in Ghana. I've got clients from Lithuania,
Wow.
Bermuda. So that's one thing I love, but it's also being able to do something where you are helping other people get to where they want to be. It's like so fulfilling to do that, because it's
Mm,
not about you, like it's about the progress that you see. So you still want to become the best counsellor you can be, because the better you can be, the more you can help them. But I just love it. I love meeting lots of different people. I love the fact that they're trusting you, they're feeling vulnerable enough to talk to you about their story.
yeah.
Building that rapport. I love that every session is different. So one client might be more challenging to
Mm,
be able to help to communicate. Another client might be, you feel like, oh, this would be my friend if it wasn't in another, if it wasn't in this scenario. It's just
yeah.
nice. I love it. I've never lost my passion in the 14 years. I've never lost my passion for being a counsellor.
Wow.
So I love it. Love it.
Wow. Okay. Do you specialize in counseling, or you deal with anything and everything?
Yeah, so and that's a good question actually. So for
Mm,
some counsellors, they will get qualified and then they will just say, I'm a general counsellor. Now the issue with that is that, yeah, you'll get loads of people calling you and you might get lots of clients, but
mm,
specialising means that people will you've got a niche, but people will know you for doing that thing. So I specialise in stress,
oh, okay.
depression,
Mm-hmm.
low self-esteem, and relationships. Now, the reason those 4 areas are all areas that I've got either training in, or
Mm-hmm.
I've got expert experience and skills, because I've worked in those areas.
Yeah.
What that means is that I can focus on those 4 areas to a degree where, when I do a video about relationships or a video about stress,
Mm-hmm.
it goes into the algorithm sometimes. Because what I've noticed is, if people will Google relationship counsellor,
Yeah.
I've even seen sometimes a picture of me come up from YouTube, one of my YouTube videos, because I've done over 500 videos. So if you
Yeah.
think about it, if you've done 500 or 700 videos in a
One of them.
specialist area,
Yeah.
one will come up somewhere.
Mm,
So I think I would definitely say to people, it is worth considering. You can go the other way, which is general. A general counsellor will still get appointment and clients. But
yeah.
what you have to think about is, are you then going to take on an area that you probably don't have as much knowledge in? Like, I don't know anything about addictions, so
Mm,
I would refer someone on to, if they had addiction. I don't know anything about eating disorders. I
oh,
would
yeah.
refer OCD, refer.
Mm,
Because you could take on that client, but you might not give them the best service that you can give. Is it worth taking that risk? Because
mm,
then they're going to say, well, this counsellor didn't do what they want for me. So it might be best to think about what you are passionate about, what
mm.
you have the experience in, and what you actually enjoy working with, what areas. So
All
yeah.
right. Oh, okay. All right. Fantastic. So, what do you not love about your job? What's the downside?
Okay. The downsides, I think, are things like dealing with clients who don't turn up, so that you're sat and that time you can't get back. Chasing invoices. If you work for a company and they've told you to do sessions with clients, but then they haven't paid you, or even if a client hasn't paid me, thankfully that doesn't happen often, but it can do. You then have to go into business mode. You can't just say, well, do you know, I'll leave it, and that sort of thing. So working with that sort of thing. Also, maybe challenging clients who are either really demanding and they expect you to fix everything, magic wand, and then they
Mhm.
kind of put lots of pressure on you, or clients where there isn't that rapport. Building rapport is a skill.
Yeah.
So if you're meeting the stranger for the first time as a counsellor,
Mm,
you have to, that is a skill you have to learn, because not every client is going to be the same. So I think sometimes it can feel, am I ever going to get anywhere with this client? Or
mm,
is that client like a match for me, or are they not happy with me as a counsellor? But you can't go down that route, because you have to be really strong, really confident. You have to know that building rapport, it can happen. So yeah, I think they're the main things. Is there anything else? No, I think overall I do like being a counsellor, but it's hard work.
all right.
That's the other thing. It's not easy. So anyone that is thinking, oh, I'm just going to go into any a counselling role, people think it's just the listening to clients that is the part. And yeah, I'll be a counsellor. Or you have to. Someone said to me, all you have to do is sit there, listen, and nod your head. And I'm thinking, you
Yeah.
have no idea. But yeah, so
I thought
yeah.
this would be on your downside. Do you find your job stressful sometimes? Do you have people that you speak to and you connect with them and you feel their story and you feel sad? And does that affect your mood, your day at times?
I think it can do if you're not careful. You're human, so you are going to be affected. If someone's talking about suicide, bereavement,
Mm,
domestic violence,
mm,
going abuse, there's no area in counselling really which is like an area that's not going to have an impact. As a counsellor, what you have to learn to do is be there completely for the clients and empathise, but you can't allow yourself to absorb it all because you're just going to be useless afterwards even. So there are clients when I used to work at Women's Aid where I would be going home and worried, are they going back to abuse? Am I going to see them next week?
mm.
Should I have done more? But I think, yeah, I wouldn't call that a downside in the sense of, I think because I know it's part of the job, that I know that when someone comes to me, it's for serious issues. So if you think of it in that way, similar to like a priest, I suppose, if you're a pastor or a priest,
Yeah.
your job isn't just to preach to the congregation on a Sunday. If
Mm,
someone in that congregation is struggling, or if you feel that responsibility, don't they, that pastor
yeah.
does to that church if they're good at their job, but they also know that there's going to be times where I'm really affected by it, but
Mm,
you hold that effect, you hold that because you know that that's like what being a counsellor is. I feel privileged that people feel comfortable to tell me, but yeah, I do feel if I've had like a long week of lots of clients, I might feel like, oh, I feel a little bit emotionally exhausted, but that's
yeah.
where self-care comes in. I'll go off and meet with family, or I'll go on a short break. So yeah.
Okay, sounds fantastic.
Yeah. You
It
just got
sounds
to
to
be
me, it sounds
self-aware.
like you've got to have the right skill, the right attitude, and you've got to genuinely care for people.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to have the right mindset towards it of what you're going into. You can't go into a profession like counselling by saying, right, I'm going to make lots of money. I'm going to do all these like Facebook pages and groups. I'm going to do all these podcasts and I'm just going to just go for it and this sort of thing, because you can do, but
Mm,
you don't the business. I don't look at the business side of it as being, I run a business because I'm a self-employed counsellor. I'm a
yeah.
freelance counsellor,
Hmm.
but I want to try to be the best counsellor that I can be. And
Mm,
that has taken like years for me to get to that point. And so I think for me, it's about what I can do for the individual client. If I have 10 clients a week or if I have 2 a week, it doesn't matter to me. I still want to do 2 good sessions with those 2. I've ran a group where I did a vision board
mm.
workshop. 15 people signed up and 3 people turned up. No, I had enough food for 15. I
Oh
had
no.
venue in the middle of town. I had the cameraman was there. But you know
Oh,
what? I had a brilliant time with those 3 and
did
they had a brilliant time.
you?
They gave me 10 out of 10. We had fun. So that's what I'm trying to say. You can't always, it's not always what you want. You still have to put
Yeah.
the same level of passion
Same
into it.
amount of effort. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds really, really good. So if anyone's listening and they want to get into counseling, what's your not what's your advice? What are the options in terms of getting into counseling? So if you want to do it as self-employed or if you want to be employed by a company, how do they
Yeah.
get into it? What skills or what knowledge?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes. So for most people, if they're curious to start with, then you could do like a foundation course, which is called Introduction to Counselling. Now, Introduction to Counselling courses don't give you the qualification to become a counsellor, but it introduces you to counselling. So you will get like level 1. It will tell you whether you want to do it or not. So you will have to still do a 1-year course. You will still have an introduction. So you will do all the things like having to keep journals. You won't do any skills practice or anything like that. So it's basically, the reason that is there is to give people almost a trial period for that year. You'll see if it's for you. Then if you do that and you like it, you can go on to the next thing, which is intermediate, which is called counselling skills. Now that is the next step. So a counselling skills course, which most course in the UK, most colleges do, will be a
Okay.
1-year course, and you will learn about counselling skills. You work in triads of 3 people, so you'll be pretending to be the counsellor. Your another student will be the client. You'll practice, and someone will observe. You'll get lots of feedback. Once you do that, you'll have your certificate, counselling skills. Then from that, you'll go on to the next one, which is called counselling studies. Now, this is only one route. This is the route I took. Counselling studies is another year.
Okay.
Then
Is
it's your
college as
D4.
well?
This is at college as well. So
Okay.
counselling skills, then
Mm-hmm.
counselling studies for another year. You get another certificate,
Mm-hmm.
but then that's where you can either stop, and it would just mean you have counselling skills and counselling studies, but you can't become a counsellor with those either. You might be able to do voluntary work as a counsellor or stuff, but you can't be employed as a counsellor. You have to then do either a counselling degree
Oh,
or a
okay.
counselling diploma. I did the diploma, which was 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
which was part-time, over 2 years, but you have to maintain your commitments. So you have to go for the full 2 years. You can't have the certain level of absence. So in total, I did 4 years before I actually got qualified. And
Yeah.
then from there, now for other people, if they do the degree, I think the degree is like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
And I think, yeah. Now with the degree, I think there's more different criteria. So what people need to figure out, I suppose, first of all, is which route, your route will depend on what you want to do. If you want to become a qualified counsellor, be
Yep.
employed as one, and or set up practice, you need to choose the right route, which would be doing the skills, the studies, and either the degree or the diploma. If you just want to do it because your organisation says having counselling skills will help in your profession. Some pastors might do counselling skills,
Oh,
so
yeah.
but they wouldn't be trained counsellors. Some
Mm.
people in maybe the fire department or in certain police officers, they might do counselling skills or studies, but they wouldn't become counsellors, but it would help them
Oh, okay.
so that's the difference.
Oh,
So then once you've done that, you can then either just apply for jobs. Now,
mm-hmm.
when you first become a counsellor,
Mm.
certain organisations want you to have a level of experience, so they're not going to employ newly qualified
Okay.
counsellors because they want you to have been in the practice. So some people go straight into private practice from that stage, which
Okay.
is easier because the
Mm.
public isn't going to say, well, I'm choosing that counsellor because they've had 10 years. Some will. Other
Yeah.
people will just be what do they specialise in? Another person might be how much do they charge? So
Oh,
you
yeah.
could effectively charge £50, £40 or something for
Mm.
counselling straight out of university when you've qualified, and someone might just come to you based on the fact that you charge £40. So
Oh,
going into private practice, you can do that as soon as you have that qualification, but you have to have the main qualification, which is a diploma or a degree in counselling.
okay.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I like that you said you did it part-time. So I'm just thinking if anyone's thinking about doing it and they've got a family and they've got to work, etc. So they could potentially do the diploma and do it part-time, can't they?
Yeah, I was working full time, and then I was doing it one day a week. So it was on a Tuesday but you'd have to go from morning all
Mm.
the way till the evening. So it was something like
Oh,
9 in the morning till, no, it wasn't 9 in the morning. It might have been 10 in the morning till 9 at night, and they would divide your day. So you'd have, in the morning, you would have your classes. Then have a break. Then you'd have like a development group where you all met together, personal development. Then you'd have skills practice. So you'd still get everything in there, but you
yeah.
would have to commit to 2 years of every day on a Tuesday. Now that's easier to work around if
It
you're
is.
working than
Mm.
doing full time. But yeah,
Full-time, yeah.
some courses though, some colleges and universities don't really offer that type of thing now. That was 14 years ago. I think now they're more, you'd have to like find out. The other thing to bear in mind, lots of people are doing online courses. What I
Yeah.
just want to warn people about is online courses, because they're not interactive, so you
Mm.
can't do the skills practice like in the room and stuff.
Okay.
Lots of employers might not necessarily favour that when they're looking at employing you as a counsellor, because
Yeah.
they're going to see as though you've just gone online and just done an online course.
Mm.
It's still got the, yeah, there's like a little, it's not frowned upon if you like, but
Yeah.
preference is for you to actually be going in, but you can still do it if you
Yes.
find the right one. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds very, very good. I was going to ask you, what are your working hours like? But you're
Yeah.
self-employed, aren't you? So you work as and when you can fit in clients,
Um,
right?
Yeah, so what you can either choose to have set hours that you work. I've never had set hours, but I try to. So in a typical week, I would do on a Monday, like today, I've had 2 appointments already. I've got 2 more this afternoon. I've got 3 more this afternoon,
Oh, okay.
evening. So you might have 3 or 4 appointments a day. You might have 5 on some days. If you add on all the stuff like all the admin you've got to do, emails and all the rest of it. So in a typical week, I'd say I might do 20 to 30 hours. That's just with the counselling. And then on top of that, my part-time role. And if you're thinking like updating social media as well and all the other stuff, it just depends. So you can set your own hours if you're like in private practice, but don't feel that if you want to earn money as a
Mm,
counsellor as well, you've got to think and put more money into the business, then you will probably have to work like a lot of hours as well. So it's not this fantasy that people say, which is like, oh, you're self-employed, so you can choose your hours. You can choose your hours, but if you only do 3 or 4 hours a week, then you're not really going to make enough money to live off.
yeah, yeah, makes sense. So in terms of if you were a counsellor as a working for a company, is it well-paid job, would you say? Can you survive on it, or is it basic minimum wage sort of?
It's more than minimum wage. I think it depends. If you work for a charity, you have to bear in mind charity are going to pay you charity prices. So if you was to work for Women's Aid or an organisation, like I've seen Women's Aid roles for counsellors or for stuff where the full-time salary is less than like some people might make part-time. But then other roles, like in my role that I'm doing where it's part-time hours, but it's
Yeah,
intense work. So the nature of the work that you're doing means the salary's good. I
yeah,
earn quite a good salary from it,
yeah.
but the intensity of the role and the experience they want from the counsellors means that they'll pay more. So I'd say that if you find the right organisation, you can get a decent salary from it as a counsellor.
Mm-hmm.
But I would always say to people, once you've got that qualification, set up your private practice. There's nothing to stop you. You might get one client, you might get none, but at least you can do both. I would recommend doing both, really.
Okay, fantastic. So if someone's listening and they really want to get into this, what's your advice as we close off?
Yeah, okay. My advice is to think carefully that like counselling as a profession is not a job.
Mm,
Think of it as a vocation or a profession. There's
yeah,
going to be lots of things. Think about are you mentally strong enough and resilient to practice self-care, to be a counsellor? Are you going to be okay to hear some of the things you're going to hear? So it's not like your typical job. Do you have the right setup, the right lifestyle? Do you have the right mindset? Do you have the ability to run it as a business and be strong enough to do that as well? But overall, if you have the passion and you genuinely enjoy working with people and you don't have any strong beliefs and views that are going to be prejudicial to doing your job, then go
yeah,
for it, because you have to be a people person. You can't be someone that you're not going to connect with absolutely everyone you meet, let's be honest. I mean,
yeah,
we have supervision and we talk that through, but overall you can't be someone that is very judgmental. You can't be someone that is very discriminatory, because that will come into the counselling environment. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate
Okay.
this. I think I will be asking if we can do video number 2. I just want to understand a little bit more about stress. So
Yeah,
hopefully we
sure.
can make time and we can do that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that would be fine. Thanks.
All
Thank
right,
you, Lisa,
fantastic.
for
All right, thank
inviting
you
me.
for your time.
Okay.
Enjoy
Okay.
the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.